guys, it's Donna, and today I'm going to do a different video. I'd like to show you guys how to make a face mask with an adjustable nose wire, adjustable strap, as well as a filter pocket. So as you guys all know right now, we're kind of in a crazy time, and I've had to step away from what I normally do and get out the old trusty sewing machine and make a whole bunch of masks for my family and friends. But what I was finding is the masks that I was making were irritating people's ears, especially those that had to wear them all day long because of the elastic that was on them. Plus, I was making them for people that were out of state, and I didn't know how big their heads were. I wanted to make sure that they were going to fit them when they got to them. So I was trying to find a way to combine a whole bunch of different patterns I was finding on the internet and YouTube and make it a little bit better and fit everybody's head and everybody's needs and also be a little more comfortable. So that's why I want to do this video for you today. I figured that I've been making a gazillion of them lately, so I might as well share a little bit of knowledge with you guys. If you have a little bit of sewing background, this shouldn't be too difficult for you to use or to make. I am using Craft Passions pattern, which I'll leave a link below. They have a great YouTube video as well that I've watched. They do a step-by-step, and I'm going to do the same thing here with a little bit of tweak to show you what I've added for the adjustable straps. There's also a printable pattern as well that you can use, and I'll show you that as well. So let's take it from the beginning, and I will show you what to do first. All right, so like I said, there's a video below. I'll leave some links, but it also links to the website that you can print off these really, really detailed instructions along with the patterns that you can use are in there as well. There's a whole bunch of PDFs. These are actually the PDFs. I'll show you. There's a nice one for men. There's also one for the lining. There's one for, I'll show you the ones I already cut out. There's also one for teens/women. There's one for young kids 7 to 12, as well as one for small kids. And this has come in handy because a lot of the patterns I'm seeing online are not talking about children, but it is still recommended for children to wear them unless they're under 2 years old. Do not make a mask for a child that's under 2 years old because it's a suffocation hazard. But anyone above that, it's really nice because you have the 4 different sizes. And even the men's one I have used for some women if they have a broader face. So just take that into account. So what you're going to do is you're going to print those patterns out, and I put them on cardstock because I use them a bazillion times. As you can see, my pin marks on all of them. But there should be a lining pattern as well as a main fabric pattern. And what you're going to do is you're going to take your fabric. There's 2 ways that you can do this. You can take your fabric pattern and you're going to put it on here, and then you're going to take it and flip it to the opposite direction. So you want opposites for the pattern. Or you can take your fabric and you can fold it in half, and you can do it one time and then cut around the whole thing, and you'll have one for the main and then also one for the opposite. You're going to do the same thing for the fabric that you pick for your lining. Is you're going to do either a double-sided or side by side, and then flip it for the other side. All right, after you cut out your patterns, fabric, you're gonna see that you have the main fabric, and then I suggest doing a different color for the lining fabric, and that way people know what side is supposed to touch your face, because obviously if you get something on the outside, you don't want that to touch your face. So I've heard that it's better to do a different color if you can. If not, as long as it's 100% cotton, they're saying, with a very tight weave, which both of these fabrics are, that is sufficient as well. This is just kind of taking it to the next level. Now you'll notice that the lining is a little bit smaller lengthwise here, and there's a reason for that. That's going to help for where we're going to put the cording later on the straps. So make sure that when you cut them out that you do notice that there is a shorter section. Okay, so now that I have my fabric at my machine, I want to make sure that I put the outside patterns together because we're going to sew on the inside so that you don't see the seams. We're going to flip them here in a second. So we're going to sew first down the curved side of the mask on the main part. So let's do that real quick. Make sure at the edges that you reinforce them by doing a back stitch just so that they don't come apart as you're putting them together. So then, as you can see there, we did a stitch along the curved side. So we're going to do the same thing with our lining pieces. So make sure you put the outsides of the fabric together so that you're sewing on the inside of the fabric for the lining, and we're going to sew down the same part. Make sure they're lined up good. I do these without pins because I try to avoid as many pins as I can since they are face masks to keep your from inhaling anything. You don't want to put extra pinholes if you don't have to. Also for speed reasons. I've been making lots of these masks as I said earlier, so this just makes it a little bit faster. So close enough is good enough. So now we've got that edge as well. All right, so then you're going to take your scissors and you're going to trim off the excess strings, thread. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to go along that seam that we just sewed and we're going to put notches along it. And that way it'll turn out a little bit easier and lay flatter when we turn it the opposite direction. So we're just going to take it and put just little slots. Now be careful when you're doing this because you do not... Do you see that little slot I put in there? You don't want to cut the seam that you just sewed. So make sure you don't go too far, but just enough so that it separates the fabrics. I'll go along and do that for the main fabric and for the lining. All right, so as you see, I have a whole bunch of these little notches along that seam. So now we'll do the lining. Might be able to see it a little bit better. There you go, on the lining piece. All right, so now we're going to take the ends of both our main and our lining piece, and we are going to take them and fold them back manually just about 1/4 inch, just like that. And then we're going to sew along those separately so that it kind of finishes off the end. All right, so just manually fold that back, and then we're going to run just a quick stitch down that. And again, we're going to do the other side as well. And this is all facing into the back side of your fabric. I should have also prefaced this video to say that this is the first time I've done a sewing video. I just thought it'd be really important to share this with you guys. So I may not even use the right terminology, but I'm a self-taught sewer. So I'm sorry if I'm not using the right terms. But you can certainly leave in the comments below if you know what the right terms are that I'm using wrong. It works for me, and hopefully you understand me, but I am more than happy to answer any questions you guys might have in the comments below. All right, so we're gonna do the same thing with our main fabric. Again, you've got 2 pieces here, and you're gonna just manually fold it back a little bit so that we're creating kind of like a little hem. So let's go ahead and sew that side. See there? Then we're going to do the opposite side on the other piece of fabric. All right, and again, we're going to trim up our threads to make it nice and clean. Okay, so now that we have clean edges, we are now going to turn the fabric from the back side to the front side, and we're going to push it out just like we're making the front of the mask there. So it's going to be a rounded part of the mask. But what you're going to do is on the inside, since you have those little tabs that you cut, is you're going to push them to one side because you want to make sure that we don't have too much bulk right here where the mask is touching the face. So by doing this, we're going to do it with the lining as well. They're going to end up being on opposite sides. I know that sounds a little crazy, but you're just going to finger press that seam over to one side. And this is a little tricky part of the mask, but you're going to lay it underneath of your sewing machine like this, and then it's going to kind of curve up as you sew it. Just try to keep that extra piece of the hem on one side. So I'm just going to lift it up to make sure that it's going to the right side. And this is where the notches help out. Makes it a little bit smoother. I just wanted to show you both sides of that. You see how they all got pushed to one side, and then I'm going to push that out now And you can see how they're nicely put together. So it just kind of keeps it gives it a nice finished look as well. And this part, I'm sorry I didn't say, you're gonna sew on the main side so that you have that finished top stitch there. So let's trim off the excess threads. And we'll do the same thing to our lining. So we're gonna take it and we're going to push them over to the same side as we did with the main outside piece. Trust me, they're gonna end up on opposite sides. So we're just gonna go through and finger press that over so that they stay to one side, and then we're gonna stitch on the main side of the lining as a top stitch. That'll keep the seam to the side to again reduce that bulk. Whoop, I think I got one flipping over to the other side. All right. Sorry, the camera angle is a little funny. I was trying to get as close as I could to the sewing machine. All right, so this one you can see it a little bit better because it's the lighter colored fabric. See how it has that nice top stitch now? And then the excess seam is on one side there. Okay, so now you're gonna take the lining part and you're gonna turn it to the right side so it's poking out like that. And then you're gonna take the main fabric and you're gonna flip it back so that the outside has the bumpy part sticking out, okay? And then you're gonna put the two outside pieces together so they kind of cup into each other. And then what you're gonna do is you're gonna line up your little seams here so that they lay nicely. See how that side's on that one and then it flips over to that side. See, told ya. So I do use a pen here just to kind of keep it in line as I'm sewing. So I'm gonna pen the top part and I'm gonna flip it around to the bottom and line up those seams again. And I'm going to sew that part. All right, so now we have two pieces that are stuck together, and again, the main side, the outside of the fabrics are touching each other, so we're sewing on the inside. So now we're gonna run a stitch all the way from one side to the other side along the top and then also along the bottom, but we're gonna leave the sides open so we can turn it later. So let's do that real quick. So you can see I sewed all the way across the top. Now we're gonna sew across the bottom. So now we have a stitch on the bottom and we have a stitch across the top. So we're gonna clean up all those threads. Okay, so now you've got a opening on both sides. So you're just gonna take it and you're gonna flip it right side out. So we're just gonna turn it real quick. All right, and then I'm just gonna run my finger along the inside seams so that I can poke them all out where they're supposed to be. And then push the inside liner into the mask. And this is kind of what you're gonna turn out. Now I'm gonna take an iron and I'm gonna go through and I'm gonna press all of my seams so that my next top stitch is gonna look nice and clean and finish it off a little bit. So 1 second. Okay, so right here is where I'm gonna do a little bit of an iron along that seam there just to press it out so it's in the right place. I use steam on the cotton and that just helps to get a nice crisp line there. We're going to do that all along all of the edges. And then we're going to flip it over to the front, to the top. So as you can see, it is really nice and crisp now that we have ironed it. Okay, so now that we have our mask pressed with the iron, we're just gonna run a top stitch running all the way across the top and then a top stitch all the way across the bottom. So we're gonna do that real quick. Now the bottom. Okay, so now it looks nice and clean across the top and the bottom. It's a little easier to see on the other side. And that just also holds the two pieces together. All right, so let's talk about what makes the mask adjustable. So when I first started doing these, I just realized that we needed something that could make the mechanisms work a little bit better for everybody's types of head. So elastic just wasn't cutting it, basically. So I thought, let me get some of these toggle things I've seen on like jackets and like stretch pants and athletic wear and things like that. And basically the string, it just goes through here and it tightens it up and you can adjust it on your head. I also wanted to look for a paracord, and believe it or not, the first time I found these at Dollar Tree. They come in pink and blue and green and maybe black if you can find that one. I couldn't. But it's a really good deal. It's 25 feet for an 1/8 inch, and that seems to be a good thickness as well. Well, I ended up running out of that at some point and ended up going to my hardware store and found black. So that's another option, is to check your local hardware store. All of those options should still be open right now. And there's plenty of this. I don't think people are selling out of Paracord. So I'm going to show you real quick how we're going to add it to our mask. Oh, and the little toggles, I got these from Etsy. You can also get them on Amazon. So I'll leave some links below, and also for the Paracord. So if you don't want to leave your house, you can also order them online. I got them in just a few days. So I'm going to switch the camera so you can see how to add the cord to your mask. Okay, so the side that you have, well, both sides have a filter hole, but one of the sides that looks a little bit wider than the other side, I'm going to pick this side, is where we're going to start. We're going to take the end of our paracord. I know it looks kind of funny, but the insides are durable, I believe, so they have these extra strings. You can cut them off if you want to. I'm just going to leave it on there. But we're just going to leave halfway is where we're going to lay the cord, and we're going to fold over the edge. However, this is the tricky part. You don't want to fold over your filter slot. So you're going to kind of just hold the filter slot back with your fingers, and you're going to put the paracord in there, and then this is where I am going to use a straight pen to hold the cord in place. And then you're just going to make a loop at the top. It doesn't matter how long it is because the other side is going to be adjustable. And then you're going to take the other side, and this you can fold over all the way, because we're going to be able to slide it like a channel almost is where the cord's going to go. And we're going to pin this in here twice just to hold it in place so we can sew it. And then again, we're going to loop the bottom part around. Try not to have any twists in it because it just makes it a little bit smoother when you're trying to wear it. And then we're going to take the other half and we're going to meet the other half. Turn it around. Inside of the little channel you're making here, pull back the filter slot, fold that over, and then we're going to pin it again. There. Then when we sew it, we're going to reinforce it as best as we can. Let me get down here so I can talk to you guys. We're going to reinforce it here a couple of times. Then we're going to sew down the channel and reinforce it again in the middle, sew down the channel and then reinforce it again, and then just sew down the channel and reinforce it again. And I'll show that to you in a second. And then real quickly, I wanted to show you guys, there's another option that you can do if you don't have any paracord or you don't want to get the toggles. My husband actually prefers this option over the adjustable kind. These are just elastic headbands that you can get for your hair, and these came from Dollar General. You can get them at Dollar Tree as well. And then what I do is I just cut them in half here, and then you're going to add them. You're going to need two, and you're going to add one of them to the top half of your mask, and you're going to sew it the same way right in the middle there. And then you're going to cut the other one in half and sew it to the bottom part. It fits you kind of a little bit differently. One goes behind your neck and one goes over the back of your head. So just another option. So hang tight and I'll show you how to sew this. All right. Okay, so now I have my secured thread. This is not going to go anywhere. It's cording, sorry. But I was safe to leave open the filter pocket here. So let's go ahead and cut the threads off. Okay, so now let's flip it over to the other side. Again, be very careful not to sew onto the cord because you want it to move freely after we sew it. All right, so as you can see on this side, the cord moves back and forth. So let's go ahead and clip those off. All right, so now I'm going to adjust the bottom here of the neck. You don't need a lot on the bottom. I more so need more at the top. So just adjust it up a little bit. And then you're gonna take the end of your cord. I'm gonna tilt this down a little bit so you can see a little bit. You're gonna take the end of your cord and put your toggle on it. So I pinch it. I'm gonna grab a new one here. And then I'm gonna run the pinched part in that hole if you squeeze it. And sometimes it takes a little bit of elbow grease to kind of get it shoved through there to the other side. All right, so as you see, that just kind of slides down in there. And then I like to tie just a quick knot at the top so that the toggle doesn't come off, so that it'll last a little bit longer. So just basic knot there, and then we're gonna slide that up to the top. Okay, so now let's put in the nose piece. So I've just been using basic pipe cleaners. I feel like it's a little bit softer on your nose. Now I will tell you, I've noticed that as you soak them, which I don't put mine in the washing machine because I'm worried that the fabric will break down. So I use mine in just a sink, fill it with warm water, and then I put Dawn dish soap in it. So I've noticed that the pipe cleaner sometimes rusts a little bit. So just be aware of that, but it's only been happening on the inside and not the outside of the fabric. So I'm okay with that, but just to give you an idea. So let's grab a piece of pipe cleaner. All right, bright green seems to be all I have left, so we're gonna go ahead and do that. So I fold mine, the long pipe cleaner, in half, and I cut it. And this is about the size that you get. It's about 6 inches. And then I take the ends and I fold them back so that the raw metal doesn't poke into your face. And then you're gonna fold the whole thing into half again. And then we're gonna run it through the filter pocket. On the inside, you see this? I'm just gonna stick that in there. Up to the top bridge where the nose would go. And then I'm gonna grasp where like the half of the pipe cleaner is, and then just manually, this is really hard to show you guys, but we're gonna manually push up the pipe cleaner into the top along here. And then we're gonna do the same thing on the other side. I've seen some patterns where you can add an extra piece of fabric along the top, but again, I'm trying to do these in bulk, so I'm trying to be as quick as possible about this, but still have a great product in the end, so I have not done the extra fabric. But that's an option if this is a little too tricky for you. But you're gonna hold that pipe cleaner in place, and then we're gonna sew it like a channel almost in the top of the mask. Okay. Be sure not to get your needle on the pipe cleaner because it will break your needle. It's metal on metal, and I've done that quite a few times experimenting with this. And there you have it. You can actually see it better on the inside, or you have the pipe cleaner on the inside, so it's adjustable for your face. So there you go. So that is all that I have for you guys. Again, here's your adjustable part. So this part, let me show you with my mask. You never want to put somebody else's mask on your own face because then it's infected. Basically, you're sharing your germs. So this is for somebody else, but I'm going to show you my mask and how you would put it on and adjust it. So purple's my favorite color, so we're gonna do that one. So what you do is you take the bottom part of the mask, is you're gonna pull the cord as far as you can and slip it over your head. And then I adjust my hair, if that matters to you. And then you're gonna slide that pretty snugly on your neck because you wanna make room for it to go up over your face, adjust your nose. Then you're gonna pull the top string over your head, pull it to comfortable tightness, and then you're gonna pull the toggle in the back of your head. Ta-da! That's all you got. You wanna make sure it's snug, okay guys? It's a little hard to breathe sometimes, but you wanna make sure it's snug to keep everything out. All right, so hopefully you guys could follow along. I'm sorry again, this is a novice sewing video, but hopefully that will help you guys at least if you're making these for other people, so that way they can be adjustable for everybody. You get the nose piece and you get the filter pocket. All right, guys, let me know some comments below if you have suggestions on what you can use as well. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel. All right, guys, we'll see you next time.